Robert Louis Stevenson was born on the 13th of November 1850. He was born in Edinburgh, a place in United Kingdom. His full name was actually Robert Louis Balfour Stevenson. He lived during the Victorian era. He was the only child in the family. Being small, he suffered a serious illness that affected him till the end of his days. Louis was often in fever, constantly coughing. He was short of air. He had pulmonary tuberculosis or very bad bronchial problems. He is also odd-looking, eccentric, difficulty fitting in at school. As a result, he dedicated himself to writing stories and poems. Interest in literature. Engineering and construction of lighthouses are things in which he was interested. Then Louis makes an application to participate in the competition and presents his poem. He later said he wanted to quit engineering. It was decided that Stevenson would become a lawyer. However, this was only a confirmation that he was actually a writer. On the 14th of July 1875, Stevenson passed his exam and was admitted to the Scottish bar. His career as a jurist was less than distinguished. Despite a brass plaque affixed to the outside of the Harriet Row House, Stevenson never earned more than a few pounds as a lawyer. How started his interest in writing? In his childhood, he couldn't go to school. Every day, he wrote stories sitting on his bed. Stevenson was influenced in childhood by Alison Cunningham. Another influence was the great number of trips with his father. His father forced him to study engineering, but Stevenson didn't like. Years later, Stevenson decided to study literature. His father didn't agree, because all his cousins were engineers and Stevenson would break the family tradition. Note: he is the best adventure writer of his time. Robert Louis Stevenson's wife, Frances Fanny Matilda Van de Grift Osborne Stevenson, was an American magazine writer. She became a supporter and later the wife of Robert Louis Stevenson, and the mother of Isabel Osborne, Samuel Lloyd Osborne, and Hervey Stewart Osborne. Born the 10th of March 1840, Indianapolis, Indiana, United States. Died the 10th of February 1914, Santa Barbara, California, United States. Parents: Esther Thomas Keene, Jacob Vandegrift.
Robert Louis Stevenson's father was Thomas Stevenson. Thomas Stevenson was a pioneering Scottish civil engineer, lighthouse designer and meteorologist, who designed over 30 lighthouses in and around Scotland, as well as the Stevenson screen used in meteorology. Born the 22nd of July 1818, Edinburgh, United Kingdom. Died the 8th of May 1887, Edinburgh, United Kingdom. Spousey, a wife, considered in relation to their partner, Margaret Isabella Balfour Stevenson. M. 1848, children. Robert Louis Stevenson. Education. The University of Edinburgh, the Royal High School. Siblings: David Stevenson, Alan Stevenson.
Was a Scottish novelist, poet and travel writer, most noted for Treasure Island, Kidnapped, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and A Child's Garden of Verses. Major works: Treasure Island, originally The Sea Cook, a story for boys, is an adventure novel, a tale of pirates and buried gold. Its influence is enormous on popular perceptions of pirates, including such elements as treasure maps marked with an X, schooners, the Black Spot, tropical islands, and one-legged seamen bearing parrots on their shoulder. Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a Gothic novella, first published in 1886. The work is also known as The Strange Case of Jekyll Hyde, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or simply Jekyll and Hyde. It is about a London legal practitioner, named Gabriel John Utterson, who investigates strange occurrences related to his old friend, Dr. Henry Jekyll. The Black Arrow, published in 1888, tells the story of Richard, Dick, Shelton during the Wars of the Roses, how he becomes a knight, rescues his lady Joanna Sedley, and obtains justice for the murder of his father, Sir Harry Shelton, outlaws in Tunstall Forest organized by Ellis Duckworth, whose weapon and calling card is a black arrow, cause Dick to suspect that his guardian Sir Daniel Brackley and his retainers are responsible for his father's murder. Dick's suspicions are enough to turn Sir Daniel against him, so he has no recourse but to escape from Sir Daniel and join the outlaws of the Black Arrow against him. This struggle sweeps him up into the greater conflict surrounding them all. Kidnapped is a historical fiction adventure novel, set around real 18th century Scottish events, notably the Appin murder, which occurred in the aftermath of the Jacobite Rising of 1745. Many of the characters are real people, including one of the principals, Alan Breck Stewart. The political situation of the time is portrayed from multiple viewpoints, and the Scottish Highlanders are treated sympathetically. Katrina, also known as David Balfour, is an 1893 novel written by Robert Louis Stevenson as a sequel to his earlier novel Kidnapped, Weir of Hermiston, 1896, is an unfinished novel by Robert Louis Stevenson. The novel tells the story of Archie Weir, a youth born into an upper-class Edinburgh family. Because of his romantic sensibilities and sensitivity, Archie is estranged from his father, who is depicted as the coarse and cruel judge of a criminal court. By mutual consent, Archie is banished from his family of origin and sent to live as the local laird on a family property in the vicinity of the Borders hamlet Hermiston. While serving as the laird, Archie meets and falls in love with Christina. As the two are deepening their relationship, the book breaks off. Confusingly, there are two characters in the novel called Christina, the younger of whom is Archie's sweetheart, born and educated in
Now we'll hear some quotes by Dr. Robert Louis Stevenson.
Life is not a matter of holding good cards, but of playing a poor hand well. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. Everyone, at some time or another, sits down to a banquet of consequences. The secret to happiness is a small ego and a big wallet. Good wine helps too, but that's not really a secret, is it? I travel not to go anywhere, but to go. I travel for travel's sake. The great thing is to move. I always have two books in my pocket, one to read, one to write in. There is no duty we so much underrate as the duty of being happy. By being happy, we sow anonymous benefits upon the world. We are all travelers in the wilderness of this world, and the best we can find in our travels is an honest friend. Keep your fears to yourself, but share your courage with others. You think those dogs will not be in heaven? I tell you, they will be there long before any of us. So long as we love, we serve. So long as we are loved by others, I would almost say that we are indispensable. And no man is useless while he has a friend. There are no foreign lands. It is the traveler only who is foreign. The cruelest lies are often told in silence. Quiet minds cannot be perplexed or frightened, but go on in fortune or misfortune at their own private pace. like a clock during a thunderstorm. A friend is a gift you give yourself. It is one thing to mortify curiosity, another to conquer it. The saints are the sinners who keep on trying. You can give without loving, but you can never love without giving. To know what you prefer, instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you you ought to prefer, is to have kept your soul alive. Wine is bottled poetry. There are two things that men should never be wary of: goodness and humility. We get none too many of them in this rough world among cold, proud people. The difficulty of literature is not to write, but to write what you mean, not to affect your reader, but to affect him precisely as you wish. You cannot run away from a weakness. You must sometimes fight it out or perish. And if that be so, why not now? And where do you stand? Our business in life is not to succeed, but to continue to fail in good spirits. The world is so full of a number of things. I'm sure we should all be as happy as kings. Perpetual devotion to what a man calls his business is only to be sustained by perpetual neglect of many other things. It is perhaps a more fortunate destiny to have a taste for collecting shells than to be born a millionaire. Books are good enough in their own way, but they are a mighty bloodless substitute for life. Dead men don't bite. Compromise is the best and cheapest lawyer. If you are dissatisfied with yourself, then everything's not lost. We must go on because we can't turn back. Never think about death because it is already inevitable. If you keep on drinking rum, the world will soon be a very dirty scoundrel. Suicide carried off many. Drink and the devil took care of the rest. I sometimes think if we knew everything, we would be more glad to get away. If it comes to swinging, swing it all, say I. Don't waste time with someone who doesn't want to spend it with you. To travel, hopefully, is better than to have arrived. An aim in life is the only fortune worth finding. All speech, written or spoken, is a dead language until it finds a willing and prepared hearer. Good and evil are so close to being chained together in the soul. To be feared of a thing and yet to do it is what makes the prettiest kind of a man. The most beautiful adventures are are not those we go to seek. Extreme busyness is a symptom of deficient vitality, and a faculty for idleness implies a Catholic appetite and a strong sense of personal identity. Sightseeing is the art of disappointment. All human beings, as we meet them, are commingled out of good and evil. The truth that is suppressed by friends is the readiest weapon of the enemy. The devil, depend upon it, can sometimes do a very gentlemanly thing. Everyone who got where he is has had to begin where he was. Marriage is a friendship recognized by the police. Fear is the strong passion. It is with fear that you must trifle if you wish to taste the intensest joys of life. A good conscience is 8 parts of courage.
One picture of Robert Louis Stevenson together with his children and his wife. Stevenson's work has clearly influenced modern travel writing. His style can easily be compared to the latest travel diaries or blogs, and his personal and powerfully honest perspective is easily relatable today. So while the status of his fictional works remains significant, Stevenson's impact on travel must be considered equally important. Robert Louis Stevenson's death date, the 3rd of December 1894. Stevenson died of a cerebral hemorrhage. This disease is also called hemorrhagic stroke. It is an emergency condition in which a ruptured blood vessel causes bleeding inside the brain. High blood pressure and trauma are 2 leading causes. Taking blood-thinning drugs may also increase a person's risk.